Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. How are y'all doing? So, with the new Alchemortis playtest live for Patreon members and going live for everyone else this Friday. Sorry, I'm all discombobulated. That my microphone was too hot again. But yeah, with the current playtest live and the new playtest or the public playtest going live on Friday, basically still collecting feedback on all those systems. I've got a bunch of good feedback already, but of course, if you have feedback for me when you try the playtest, you can leave that feedback in the Discord. And of course, I'm expecting also more feedback to come in when it goes live for everyone and not just Patreon members. But with all that feedback being collected and bug reports being done, so far, it seems like the game is still moving in the right direction. So that means that I think it's time to start laying the groundwork for the bigger changes. So a lot of this past couple months of development has been focused on just nailing down the game feel, not the progression, but just like the difficulty curves, the blood economy, getting the alchemy into a good spot, and all that good stuff. And so I think that that's, you know, it's getting there, and it's better than it was. And of course, there's still more work to do there, but I think now is the opportunity to start doing like broad stroke work on the other systems that the game needs to be finished, right? So multiple playable characters, meta progression, all that good stuff. So we're going to start that effort today with a new character, and you may have seen it in the Discord. The priestess character. And so with that character drawn, we're going to put her in the game, and then we will have to build out all the frameworks to support character selection and like how to differentiate the characters from each other, all that good stuff. So anyway, all that is a long-winded way of saying we're moving on to new stuff with Alchemortis, and it's going to be sloppy, it's going to be messy at first, but we have to get something down into the game first before we can work on refining it, right? So that's generally, I think, good advice, is like when you have a brand new feature to do, just paint with broad strokes, just get something working, get something in the game, and then you can refine it as it takes shape. Anyway, but before we do that, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting, and the Alchemortis playtest is live right now for Patreon members. So if you are currently subscribed as a Patreon member, check your email for a Steam key for the playtest, and you can subscribe to Patreon at any point during this Patreon early access period, and a Steam key will be emailed to you immediately upon your subscription. Of course, I would encourage you to consider looking at this top tier here. Not only does this help a lot, but this is like a pre-purchase of the game. So anyone who is subscribed or has subscribed to this tier for at least 1 month will receive an Alchemortis Steam key for the full game. So if you subscribe at this tier for 1 month, you do not have to purchase the game on Steam, because I will be sending you a Steam key, as well as listing your name in the Alchemortis credits, in the in-game credits. So definitely check that out. I'm going to accept these cookies, I guess. That's kind of annoying. Anyway. And you can also support the game by purchasing one of my Udemy courses. You'll also learn how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So check that out. That's all linked below. And again, you do not have to pay anything to test the game. Every playtest will always be available to everyone It's just that you have to wait for the Patreon early access period to be over first, and then it will be open for a week to everyone who wants to try it. So again, there's no FOMO here. The only time where you will have to pay something is if you want the full game off of Steam when it's released. That's the only time, but you do not have to support the development financially at any point to get anything special, really. So anyway, I think that's it. Wow, that was a long intro, but it's okay. We're good. I did not have my social stream running, so we didn't get some of these comments in here. But hello, Jahar. Happy Monday. Been enjoying playing a lot. Awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for that. Hello, Chris. Good morning to you. Good morning, Dione. Bad Tutor Nick says, "Oi, mate." Welcome. Good to see you. All right. Hello, Riley. Saw the headline of the stream pop up and I just had to pop in and say I'm hyped for a new playable character. It's going to be sick. Thank you. Also heard the music in this game was pretty good. Yes, it is. Yes, the game is very good. The music is very good. Hello, RKI Orb Mage. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. I don't think you've been here before, but as the streams get more and more viewers, I'm having a harder and harder time remembering who has been here and who has never been here before. So welcome if you've never been to the stream before, and welcome back if you have and I just forgot. Okay, let me show you what the priestess looks like. I have some interesting ideas for this, so we'll open up the priestess. So of course we got the little necromancer guy. I will probably end up redrawing this guy a little bit. I generally like the style here, but I think he's a little bit too squat. I think maybe making him a little bit taller and maybe thinning out his arms just a tad, and maybe making his head a little bit smaller. I might do that because this character, I think, is... I don't know. I think that this character is just a little bit higher quality. So I just want to make some tweaks to this guy to match. And I've decided that... so this priestess character, I did not... I can't draw faces. So I decided that I'm going to give every single playable character a hood that looks similar. And then that's just going to be like how the necromancers, that's their uniform, right? So like every occult alchemist or necromancer is going to have this hood, and that just marks them as all being part of the same faction. And boom, now I have a lore reason why they have hoods, and I don't have to draw faces. So there you go. Why work harder when you can think smarter, right? I will have to learn to draw faces at some point, but that point is not today. Anyway, so we got the priestess character, and every character probably is going to have some kind of light source because the map is lit up differently around the player. So we'll do some kind of light source. You know, the necromancer guy will have his lantern, and then the priestess here has some kind of just orb here. This outer ring, what I want to do with this outer ring is I want to actually animate this so it looks like a gyroscope, and I may actually do 2 rings that are rotating sort of in opposite directions from each other. And then they'll be like flipping around the orb too. So that's going to require a little bit of work to get to work, but I think it'd be really cool to animate that. Instead of just throwing flame particles on or behind it, we'll just animate this and just make it look like it's like emitting some kind of light just from its gyroscopic power. And then the idea for the characters is that each character is going to start with their own starting cards, obviously, but then they're going to also start with their own unique, or not unique, but their own artifact. So I'm thinking the necromancer guy will start with the artifact that makes minions have increased critical chance. So that will kind of push the necromancer guy into more of a minion build, or at least to start, you know, your minions will be stronger. And then the priestess probably would just be like the typical... You know, you always have like the poison character, right? So she will be focused on poison, meaning that she'll start with a poison-related artifact, and then she'll start with poison-related cards. And of course, there are other variables I can change depending on which character you select. So I can change the starting health. I can change... Let me get rid of this. I can change the starting health. I can change the starting... blood currency. I can change the starting alchemical residue. I could even change the starting board size, or I could change like the board could start off at like a 2x3 size instead of a square size, and then have like some weird combination of cells unlocked. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that I can differentiate the characters just using the systems that I already have in place. So I don't necessarily need to program or create a system where each character has like their own passive ability. I can just use the systems that I already have to differentiate them enough from each other. I think if that's not the case, if that ends up not making the characters distinct enough from each other, then I will figure something else out for that. But anyway, I have once when you were reviewing GMTK entries. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, welcome back in that case. Hello, Ben. Welcome back. What size is the new sprite? How do you determine the sprite scale during dev? It's quite disruptive to change mid-dev. Yeah, so that's why this character is here, is I like the size of this character, like the way it looks on the map. And so what I did is for the new character, so I like how, you know, just generally how much space this character takes up on the map here. So what I did, and this is what I do all the time when I'm trying to draw art to scale or like to be consistent, is I just bring him over and then I just draw the new character next to him so I can kind of see in real time what the proportions are like. And it's okay if the character is taller or thinner. In this case, she is obviously taller and thinner than the character, but they should roughly have like the same like visual footprint, I guess. So you can see if I were to like just highlight a bounding box around these people, you know, they're like roughly the same here, right? Like obviously the bounding box of the priestess here is a little bit bigger, but generally they're proportional to each other, right? So yeah. Anyway, I think there's a joke about short kings in here somewhere, but anyway, I won't try to make that joke. What about frog faces? All right. Good morning, Emerson. Welcome, welcome. Okay. So, yeah. Let me just organize this a little bit. Well, so where do I start? That's a good question. Do we start with the character select system or do we start with animating this person? Probably start with the character select system. Obviously that's going to require a whole new set of art and everything. Let's see. I was trying to give this some thought. I was trying to give this some thought earlier, but... So, yeah, obviously, like, when you start the game here, you're obviously going to need some way of selecting the character. Yeah. So when clicking start here, instead of going straight into the map, there will probably have to be like a separate screen where you test or where you select the player that you want to play. What I thought could be interesting, and this would require quite a lot of extra work, but we have like this little start icon here. So it'd be cool if you just go into the game immediately and the map has not been generated yet. And then when you select a character that you want to play as and you click start, then the map just starts to generate outward, just sort of like dynamically. So you start seeing like roads getting connected and nodes popping in. And that might actually help with performance. So right now, the way that the map is being generated is it's all generated at once. And so all the map nodes are here. They're just hidden or disabled or whatever. And I think that's eating up a lot of time. I mean, I have to profile it and see how much time is being eaten up by actually placing the Godot nodes and how much time is actually being eaten up by the generation of the map. But I don't think it should be impossible to just generate the nodes as you discover them. So that may be a future state. I think it would be really cool to go to like a screen where you just got all the characters standing here and you could just select one and then off you go. But yeah, that's going to require quite a bit of work. So I think in the meantime, probably we'll just have like an intermediate screen here. So instead of going right into the game when you click start, we'll have a different screen with like a character select. And it's going to be very, very basic, very, very kind of like empty. But we're mostly just interested in getting the system in place that will put the character that you select in game. So let's figure that out then. Okay. Hold on just a second. I think there's somebody at my door. Let me, give me a couple minutes here. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so we have this player scene here. This is the current player. And if I go to my map container, so we've got the player node here. Let me see there. Okay, so the nice thing about this is that I don't really need any specific functionality from the player. So I have this player node typed as the player script here, which obviously has, well, I mean, it's just got this play run. Where is this? Okay, so I think we might want to restructure this. So it is calling play run. And rather than using like inheritance for the player, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a signal approach instead. So what I'll do is I'm going to transform this node. We're going to do node 2D. We're going to do player root like so. And then we will put whatever player scene we're going to use under that player root. So let's do that. So let's grab the player root instead. Node 2D, player root. And then we have this problem of play run. So ideally, I don't want the map container to know specifically what type of player is here. I want it to be completely agnostic as to that. And so what I'll do instead is, so there's a couple of ways I could do this. I could add an interface here called like iPlayer or something, and then have like a requirement to implement this play run method. The other thing I could do is I could emit a signal from this map container in some way, or let me think about this. Play run. Move player to node. Move to node. Where is this being called? So this is, okay, so when I enter the map travel state, so after I click on a node, we're doing move to node. This is awaiting this tween being done. So basically I have an amount of time that it's going to take for the player to get to the node. And then this tween is being done over that period of time. And it's moving that player position to the node and then having like a little 1/10 of a second delay. Then it awaits for the tween to be finished. And then it does this play idle. Okay. Do I want to use an interface or do I want to do a signal? An interface would be easier because I could just call these methods directly and just implement them differently for each player. But I think I'd rather do a signal. So signal public delegate void travel started event handler. And then we'll do float time. Then we'll do a signal public delegate void travel ended event handler. So then down in here, what we're going to do, let's see, set player node. Oh, I see. That's probably fine, actually. So this moves the player to the node that we're starting at, basically. I think this just gets called, yeah, when the run manager creates the seeded run. So that's okay. This is going to transform into player root.position, player root.global position, and then map camera make current. This player position is going to be player root dot global position as well. Okay. So then in player here, time is equal to player root dot position distance 2. And then what we're going to do in here is we're going to do emit signal travel started time. We're going to get rid of that for now. And then we're going to do emit signal travel ended. And we'll get rid of this for now. Okay. So we're going to need to get the player to connect to these signals in some way. I will just do this in a very basic way for now. Public void. Public override void ready. I don't really like doing this, but just to get it to work, we'll do var ancestor is equal to this dot get ancestor map container. And then what we'll do is we'll say ancestor dot connect map container dot signal name dot travel entered. Travel started, I guess. Callable dot from. And this is a float on travel started. And then we'll do ancestor.connect, travel ended on travel ended. Private void on travel started, float time. We will do play run with that time. And then we will do private void on travel ended, play idle. And then these can become private methods because we're not going to be calling those from outside the class anymore. Okay, and then in map container, we should be able to just get rid of these things. So now the map is completely agnostic as to what the player actually is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this player underneath that player root, and we're just going to do a quick test to make sure that new system works. But now with this new system in place, what should be easy to do is I should just be able to add whatever player I've selected underneath this player root, and it should just automatically work. So let's see. Hello Asymmetrics, welcome back, good to see you. It is time, yes indeed. We are getting started on working on the next big systems for Alchemortis. And it didn't work. Okay. We're going to get rid of this. Yeah, this is... Oh, player.scale. Ah, shoot. We're going to need to probably do... pass the run map node in as well. This is going to be player root. We're going to take this out of here. Run map node. Go here. Run map node. Okay, and then we'll just put this in here, and we'll do scale is equal to on map node is less than I think we can just do global position like so. We'll pass the run map node in there. All right. Let's see what that does. And I'm going to skip the menu for now, so we don't need to go through that. Hello, It Joy. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Okay. So that appears to be working now. Yeah, the scale is being changed properly. And all of the animations are working, so that's good. All right. That's good. This walk is probably going to need to be handled as well, but let's see. So anyway, we've sort of decoupled the player from the map container to a good degree, at least. Cool, so now we can start working on the actual player selection. So let's do this. Decouple player from map container. Alrighty, so let's create a new scene now. Margin container. We'll just call this player select. Scenes UI. I will just put a new folder in here, player select, save. I'm imagining there's going to be a bunch of new art and whatnot to do this, but let's set up some borders, or some margins rather. And for now, we are going to do, what did I just do? I wish I could lock these docks, because that's like the third or fourth time that I've accidentally dragged a dock over to where it's not supposed to be. Anyway, we're going to do an HBox container here. And then what we will do is we will... what? Let's instantiate... Actually, let's add a clickable control. We'll instantiate the player here. We are probably going to need a canvas group underneath that. And we probably also want to rename this player, actually. So let's do this. Yeah, let's move the player. So let's look player. So this is under the map. Let's not put that there. Let's do scenes, create new folder, character. We're going to move this player to scenes, character, move that. And we're going to rename this player to character necromancer. Okay. And then we're also going to need to move this player into a new script folder as well. So let's create a new folder here. Character. We're going to move this player script to scripts character. Move there. Let's rename this to character necromancer. Okay. And then we're going to go to character necromancer. This is going to be game.character as the namespace instead. Character necromancer. Okay. And then let's go to my map container. We're going to delete the player here from the player root. And then what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, character necromancer, change this root node name. Okay. So all that should be switched over. Let's just stage those. Okay. All right, so now we can create a new scene. Well, let's not do that yet. Let's go back to the player select here. Canvas group instantiate character necromancer. Okay. This necromancer clickable control. Outline target is going to be character necromancer. Or no, that's wrong. This needs to be the canvas group. Alrighty then. And now what we're going to do is we need to change this. So this HBox container here, we want this to shrink center. Okay. And I might actually end up not using an HBox container, but again, we're just going to get this system in place and then it will be refined over time. So necromancer clickable control. So custom minimum size. What do we want to make the size here? $28. 29. And we'll take this canvas group here. Actually, we'll just leave that there. Perfect. Okay, so there's our necromancer clickable control. Good. So I guess the next thing to do, let me think. We need to get this character selection into the scene change. Let's add a script for this. Oh, I don't have a folder for that, so let's do character. No, I should have called this character select. All right, let's just change that now. Character select. Player select. Rename this. I need to be consistent with my language here. Rename this. And then rename it here. Okay, so now we can add a script. That still didn't work, huh? Okay, there we go. Create. Hello, Bubblegum Lord. Welcome back. Got time on the weekend to playtest. First things first, it's very addicting. I'm not much of a roguelike player, but I can't stop playing this one. Great work on Game Juice. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me, I'm going to copy this text and put this into my feedback real quick. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all of your feedback that you leave on the Discord or on these streams, and I'm just pasting your message into a giant doc. And then what I'll probably do is I'll probably dump all that feedback into Chat Jeepers T, and Mr. Jeepers will categorize the feedback for me, because there's a lot of feedback that's like overlapping, or that that has like already been fixed or addressed, or I already have a plan to address. And so putting all this context into ChatGPT and telling it what I already plan to address and what isn't being addressed. And then also, you know, players report similar bugs, they report similar gameplay issues. So what I'm able to do is kind of like ask ChatGPT to generalize the feedback for me. And then that's much easier to turn into actionable items from that point. Really like the sound and music, hits the gothic dark fantasy RPG vibes perfectly. Awesome. I think I had most fun with poison builds yesterday. My legendary ceremonial dagger dealt 600 true damage converted from poison. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I will write more constructive feedback after more playtime. Just wanted to drop first thoughts. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, and every little bit of feedback helps too. You know, it's like if you play the playtest, then please consider dropping the Discord. And just like, even if you just say like a one sentence thing, like, hey, I had a lot of fun with the game. Like, that is validation too. You could even drop in and say, if all the feedback you offer is, well, that's an interesting idea, but I didn't really find it that engaging. I mean, that can help even though it's vague, right? Because it's like a temperature check in terms of if the game is going the right direction or not. But if I'm not getting any of that kind of feedback, even just like the temperature check feedback, like is it fun or not, I'm kind of flying blind a little bit. So yeah, every little bit of feedback you can offer. And of course, if you want to be like Ninja Link and just like test everything and break everything and just write this supremely detailed feedback, that is greatly appreciated as well. I don't expect everyone to go to that degree of writing feedback, but if you want to do that, that would be appreciated as well. But every tiny bit of feedback too is very helpful, so please consider doing that. And I'm also expecting, you know, more feedback to come in when the playtest goes live for the general public, because I think right now there's only like 24 people who have access to the Patreon only playtest right now. So, but anyway, rant aside, okay, it's time for game day once again. Yes, indeed. Welcome back, Jackie Diatona. Always good to see you. Always good to see you. So let's do private clickable control, character clickable controls. Actually, I probably don't want to do this. Let's not get too fancy with it just yet. So the big challenge right now is figuring out how to get the character selection into the actual run and get that configured in the map. So what I'll probably do is, let me think. Well, let's just hook into this Necromancer character. Private clickable control, Necromancer clickable control. Okay, Necromancer clickable control dot clicked plus equals on. On character selected. And we'll probably want to do like a lambda here. And then we can pass in. How do I want to do this? It might be a good idea to set up a custom resource to define all the player characters. Because I'm going to need a way of inspecting like the starting items as well. But let's not worry about that just yet. We're just going to get this working at a very basic level, and then we're going to make this system a little bit more mature as we go on. So we're just going to load the packed scene for the Necromancer right now. We'll grab the UID. Paste that there. And then what we'll do is we'll just pass in the necromancer scene as an argument. Act scene, character scene. Okay. So let's trace the logic from the main menu here. So currently when I press start, this will ask about the tutorial and then this will load the main scene. Is tutorial. Yeah, so, son of a biscuit. Private void load character select. Scene. Okay, let's do private const string character select scene UID. Okay, character select, copy UID. Paste that there. All right, we're just going to do get tree dot change scene to file. Character select scene UID. Okay, this is going to be load character select scene here. So I might need to do this in a little bit smarter of a way. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to go into this, but we'll figure it out. Played it last weekend, and when I won, my dad, who left when I was a kid, returned. My cat, who was very sick, sprang back to life, good as new, and the bank accidentally gave me money and said, keep it. Well, that's great. You heard it here, people. If you play Alchemortis, good things may happen. Good things may happen to you. Hello, RN Genesis, welcome. Yeah, for those that are just joining the stream now, this is the new character. This is the priestess. She's going to be poison oriented, I think. So yeah, it should be cool. Should be cool. But anyway, I posted her in the Discord, so many of you probably already saw her. Load character select scene. I'm going to need a whole different way of like orchestrating this main menu flow. Why is game development so hard? I just want my game to be built. I just want my game to be built, man. I'm going to do something real quick. We're just going to put me over here more. That works. So the main challenge, I think, is this get tree change scene to file is how I'm currently changing scenes. And the problem is I lose, like, I don't have a great way of passing context between scene changes, which I'm obviously going to need to do if I want to like send data into the run from a previous menu. Now, obviously with, you know, C# or even GDScript, there's ways to do that. Like I could store a static variable or whatever. I could also yeah, I might need to start setting up a different way of orchestrating these scenes. So instead of using this change scene to file, I may instead need to do something where I have a persistent like main node, and then this will be responsible for changing out the scenes. And then that will allow me to more easily pass context through to whatever scene I'm changing to. So we may need to actually do that. I don't think that's going to be too difficult, but it is work. It is work. So we've got the main menu here. All right, so this main scene was like one of the first scenes I created, one of the first scripts I added to the game, and there's literally nothing in it. Like, this literally has not changed during the entire development of the game. But I think that's about to change. So let's just do that. I think I need a way of orchestrating these scene changes better. So this is currently just running the main menu scene by default. So what I'll do instead is I will go ahead and load main, and then we will put all of the logic in there. So instead of loading the run manager there in main, we are instead going to fill out this functionality a little bit. So we're going to do export private packed scene main menu, export private packed scene character select, export private packed scene run manager. Okay, so when we first start ready, what we're going to do is let's create a public method here, public void change to scene. You know what? Actually, let's do this. Let's just add individual methods. We'll do change to main menu. Public void change to character select. Public void change to run. So on ready, we're going to do change to main menu. And we are going to need to do some kind of cleanup here. So we'll probably do like a private void change to scene here. And we'll pass in the packed scene that we want to change to. And then what we're going to do is we'll say var current scene is equal to get child count greater than 0. Get child node 0, otherwise null. If current scene is not equal to null, we are going to do remove child current scene.queueFree, and then we are going to do var new scene is equal to scene.instantiate, and we're going to add child new scene. So there's our basic change to scene functionality. Then we can do change to scene here. Okay. So let's just see if that main menu works then. So I'm going to build this, and then we'll assign all of those scenes in those export variables there. So main menu, character select, and then run manager. Cool. This is going to be necessary too when I eventually want to support running the game from a seed. So now that I have this in place, you know, it'd be very easy for me to like take an object in here that's like, what are my run arguments, right? Like, what character do I have selected? What's the seed that I have selected? So on and so forth. And then I can just pass that through down to the run manager after I add it. So this main scene will kind of orchestrate all that. But let me just see if this works. I should see the main menu come up. Now, it's not going to work from this point, but... oh, look at that. It didn't work at all. Good. Excellent. I love that. That works great. Why didn't that work? Oh, you know what? Main menu. Let's take a look. Is skip menu enabled? Oh, I probably have skip menu enabled still, don't I? Yeah. Okay, now when I click start, that's going to do nothing probably. So anywhere we have change scene to file or change scene, we're going to need to replace those. Let's remove this, and we're going to put this in main instead. If game debug is skip menu enabled, we are going to change to run and return. Otherwise, we'll change to the main menu. Okay, so change the scene, run manager, right. So now we basically need to figure out how to get this to work anytime we're using get tree change. So debug helper, that's going to need to change. On quit to menu pressed. Okay, so we're going to need a way of actually getting this main. And the way that I typically do that is I just do public. Actually, I can just do init here. If what equals notification scene instantiated, we're going to do this dot add to group. And we need to use Godot utilities for that. And then if I go to my game utils, no, that's not right. Oops. Node extensions, here we go. Public static main, get main, this node n, get tree first node and group main. All right. So yes, pause menu, this dot get main dot change to main menu. And I don't need this main menu UID anymore. So I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff where I've got this. I guess I need to keep the tutorial notice UID, but yeah, all this is going to need to change too. Okay, so we're just cleaning up all this stuff. Victory notice, main menu, this dot get main dot change to main menu. So I think what I'd probably want to do is I mean, I guess that's fine the way I have it. I could probably make that a little bit more sophisticated in the future, but this dot get main dot change to main menu. Okay, so the big problems here now are this debug helper, this dot get main dot change to run. Get rid of that. So now the big ones are here. Load character select. And then load main scene here. We'll just do this dot get main dot change to run, and this will be load run scene. Okay, so we've hooked into main now for all of the scene changes. Okay. I guess we can just check if that flow works now. Can't wait for the public playtest this Friday, right? Yes, that's correct, Cody. I'm glad you're excited about it. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what you all think. Hello, Ruined Star. Welcome back. I'm starting a refactor of my current prototype as I just learned about using components to my entities. Oh, very nice. Very nice. There's a guy on YouTube that has a very good like component video. I think it's, what is it called? I think the channel name is like Firebelly Games or something. But I'm sure if you just search like composition, you'll find it. Oh, this is still using the player position. Map input layer. I should probably change that as well. Player, here we go. This needs to be player root, and I'm going to change this actually. I'm going to have to reassign this now because I wasn't thinking, but map input layer, player root. Okay, rebuild this, and then assign the player root there. Okay, that should work. But the scene changes seem to all be working now. The way I do it is I have my menu, main game scene, then that loads a game mode, sets up common game context, and the game mode sets up a new run with the given seed. Yeah, I think that's basically the approach that I'm going to get. Like the whole reason I'm re-architecting this, how the scene loading works, is so that I can like hold on to context in that main node and pass that context along when the new scenes get created. So eventually what's going to happen, and this is actually going to happen relatively soon, is this change to run is going to require some kind of arguments object. And then that is going to be passed along to the run manager here so that the run manager can initialize itself with whatever I've selected. Smooth, yeah. Welcome, Light Tiramisu. Hello, Snupbill. Thank you for the IDR 10,000. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. And welcome back with the message Yummers. Appreciate that, Snupbill. Always good to see you. Who is this Firebelly Games guy? I know. I think he's a really niche e-celeb, if I had to guess. Extremely niche. Hello, Bubblegum. Oh, wait, I already said hello to you. We got the message Yummers from Bubblegum Lord as well. All right. So the next immediate need here. So all the scene changes are happening, it looks like, but the next immediate need is to actually get the player into the run here. I actually think I can just like play without a player because the player is just a purely visual thing now, which is kind of fun. But we're going to need to get that player selection into the game. But it's kind of interesting that the game works without having a player visual. It's kind of funny. Anyway, so let's see. I don't really want to make it. I mean, I want to make a commit with all this stuff, but I also want to get the player playing in the run here. So maybe I'll stage these as well. So change to run. So what I'm going to need to do now is I'm going to need to, let's just create classes in here, I suppose. Public class, run arguments, or run config, I guess. And we're going to do public pack scene, character scene. And then we're also, I mean, we'll want to support a seed eventually, but let's do public long, public int. It's a ulong. Okay, public ulong nullable seed. So I'm not going to use this, but I'm just going to put that in as a placeholder so that I just kind of like know that this is how this thing is going to grow. And then this is going to accept now a run config here. Change to scene run manager. So we're going to have to probably restructure how this run manager works a little bit. This is doing all this stuff in the ready. So what I probably want to do is I want to clear the ready method and just do like a public void initialize, something like this, with main.run config. Maybe this is not the right place for the run config class, but we'll roll with it. Okay, so we're going to do create player character. Private void create player character. Game UI dot map container. Is that how that works? Game map, okay. Game map dot map container main dot run config. Actually, I wonder, should I just store this configuration here? Maybe I should. And then I don't need to accept a bunch of arguments everywhere. Public void we'll just do initialize and we'll pass in that main.run config here as well. Then we're just going to do player root.addChild config.characterScene.instantiate. I'm just trying to clean some things up here. We're going to add a restart method to this run config. It's public void restart. Get main dot change to run config. So that should work. What do we got going on here? Map to container dot initialize run config. Okay. And then main here is skip menu enabled. We'll just do new run config. And what we could do is we can actually probably make this a record instead. And then what I can do is I can have like a public static read-only run config default run config. We can do new run config. Character scene, we'll just set up the character necromancer here. Like so. And we'll do default run config. Actually, I should probably do, I'll just make this do a new config object every time. That works. So we got the default run config here. All right, main menu, change to run. All right, let's see what happens. I just have some globals, one for stuff that needs to be accessed at any point but not saved, and one with run data that gets persisted, and one with round data that also gets saved. Yeah, I mean, globals is a way to do it for sure. And that's basically what I'm doing here, I guess. But I like to keep the relevant data isolated to the node that it's relevant to. So I want to keep my run config in my run manager. And the reason I do that is just because that state will automatically be cleaned up whenever the run manager is freed, right? So if I go into a new run, I don't have to manage like stale global state, right? So by just passing around this context and making the context transient except when it gets to the place that needs to make long-term use of it, I don't have to worry about like global state getting stale and inadvertently taking an option from a previous run and carrying it over into the next run, right? So I can completely sidestep that problem by just passing the data along to the system that needs it, and then whatever system needs it will store a reference to it. But since that reference is held within that node, once that node gets freed, for example, when we change to a different scene, that state will also be freed, right? But, you know, it's not that hard to manage global, like stale global state if it's like truly global. It's just something that I don't necessarily want to have to worry about. Something broke. Something broke, but then it didn't tell me what broke. You mentioned in the past wanting meta progression as well with the main scene, but where you store that. So the main scene handles transitions to other scenes. Why am I not getting an error here? The meta progression would obviously have to be persisted to disk somewhere. So that would actually have to be somewhat global, I think. Let me just launch this. So yeah, I don't know for sure what the meta progression system is going to look like from like a code architecture standpoint, Elshran, but we'll figure it out. What does stale mean in this context? So like, let's just use the character example, right? So if I am going into a run and I have multiple characters to support and I make my character choice global and then I go into the game, you know, depending on how your flow is, there could be a situation where if I go into a run, but I skip the character select for some reason, it may pull in that stale character selection data, and then you're playing with a character that wasn't intended to be played with. That's maybe a bad example because usually you're going to have a UI flow that you can't get past until you select a character. But it could be things like the seed maybe is a more appropriate one. If I store the seed globally and then I miss a case where like the player's not supplying a seed and I accidentally default to the previous seed of the previous map, then that would make the player go and play the exact same map, right? So what I mean by stale global state is just like this data that is held onto like permanently during the run that doesn't get automatically cleaned up, which could be inadvertently read or taken into account when you start a new run. So that's what I mean by stale state. It's hard to articulate like exactly what pieces of data would be a problem here, given that this system is just being built here, but now what in the heck? Why is this not working all of a sudden? Oh, why is this? Oh, map decoration. Oh, I see. Well, maybe that's part of the issue, but let's fix that too. Oh, this player's not assigned. Okay, let's go to my map decoration placer. Player root. We're going to make everything work off of this player root instead of the player directly. Okay. I don't think that was the issue, but it's quite possible that that was the issue. Okay, let's go in again. Makes sense. I feel like I need to get into using nodes for this stuff more to get as clean as your code base seems. You know, I try. I don't know if it's the cleanest thing in the world, but what the heck, man? Obviously, it's not super clean because this is not working. Oh, did I not save the run manager? Is that the problem? That is going to be hilarious if that was the problem. I don't think that's the case though. Yeah. So I guess we're gonna have to step through this and figure out what the heck is going on here. Main menu, no. Main. I did copy that character necromancer properly, didn't I? This is not like AI autocomplete, no. Oh, I'm never calling initialize. That would be why. That's also why I'm not getting any... It's also why I'm not getting any bugs. Okay. Let's just do T... Change the scene T. New scene equals as T, where T extends node. Return new scene. Change the scene run manager. And then we're going to say var run manager here. Run manager node dot initialize. What the heck? Did I not make that initialize public? I did. Oh, run manager node. Okay, change the scene, character select. Change the scene, main menu. Okay. Just finished my Alchemortis live stream. How'd it go? And thanks for doing that, Willius. Appreciate that. Okay, what are the errors we got here? No relevant errors. Does everything look correct? It does. Very cool, very cool. Very nice, very nice. Okay. So far, so good. So the game is basically not any different, but let's see if I go to quit to menu. Perfect. And I go to start. Let's just try the tutorial. This should load me into the tutorial just fine. All right. So everything's working. All the data is getting to where it needs to be. So this is a good point to do a commit because this is a lot of changes here. But this should set us up now for actually getting that new character into the game. So let's add that. I'm just going to click through and make sure I didn't do anything stupid. I would recommend doing this every time you, at least every time you make a somewhat major commit. Just go through your changes, look at every line that has changed, and just make sure that you didn't like leave any debug stuff in place, or like you didn't like modify an if statement for testing purposes. This has saved me a number of times just by going through and just reviewing real quick everything that I've done. It saved me from committing like a game-breaking thing to the game on several occasions. So would definitely recommend it. Oh, I need to test the debug restart as well. I just want to see if this works. No. So if I press F9, it should restart the game with the same configuration, yeah. Okay, perfect. That seems to be working just fine. Character Necromancer. Okay. All right, perfect. Re-architect how scene changes work. All right, then. So now we can actually start building this out. So I think I am going to want a custom resource for the character select. I think because the character resource can store like the name of the character, can store the scene that represents the character. I can also put the configuration options there, like what the starting cards for the character are. I can also put in what the starting health is, what the starting alchemical residue is, what the starting artifact is. I think that's going to be all easier to define in a custom resource. So maybe I'll set that system up next, and we'll go from there. And that will probably also very nicely tie into the meta progression system. So if the player's going to be unlocking playable characters, it's going to be nice to have those as resources with IDs that I can save to the save file, and I can say, you know, here are all the player character IDs that the player has unlocked, and then I can read that information. So yeah, I think I like using resources for that configurable but set once and forget kind of data. So I think, yeah, we'll probably do that next. So not relevant, unupdated data to the situation, is that right? Yeah, that's basically what stale data is. In any context where you hear stale data, it's data that's still in the system that could be read by other parts of the system, but that is not up to date, that you don't want to be reading. Do you still use your method for compiling shaders, or do you have do you use the shader baker? So the shader baker seems to work pretty decently. I don't know, you guys can tell me, for those who have play tested, did you notice any stutters or anything when like particles were coming into? Because I think I did, and so I may need to do my shader compilation solution again. I think the shader baker helps, but it's still not perfect, and I don't know why that is, but I'm gonna try to address that. And who knows, maybe Godot 4.7 will be out before this game is out, and they'll fix that totally. But hello, Clickertail. Heartbroken right now from walking home. I am fine, just a bit sad inside. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're here. Glad that you came to hang out, and I hope that the stream brightens your day a little bit. It was really close. I had a lot of negative effects on my cards, healing and preserving my enemy a lot. Even though I consider myself knowledgeable about the game, I felt a bit helpless to get rid of those negative effects. Thought I need to stop using alchemy so often in between. Okay. Yeah, well, I have some alchemy tweaks that I want to work on that are going to make, hopefully, alchemy a little bit more predictable. But yeah, I do agree that there needs to be better ways to scrub the negative abilities from your cards as well. Constantly review all my stage changes and often catch stuff I missed. I have no idea how can someone just commit without a single review. Yeah. And welcome to the stream, by the way. Are you connected? Hello, Ninja Link. Good to see you. Okay, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, but just to reiterate, the whole point of this stream is we're starting the effort of supporting multiple playable characters. So all the work that I've been doing up to this point on this stream has been so that we can get this priestess character into the game as a playable character. And we may be able to actually accomplish something like that before we end the stream. So we're going to see how that works. We're going to work toward that. And yeah, I think it's going to be good. And if we have time, I'd like to start animating this character as well, but yeah, we'll see. We will see. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we will continue on with this work. So, BRB. Alright, I'm back. Wooia says she looks mighty fine. Yeah, she's a baddie. That's what the kids on TikTok are saying. She bad AF. But here's the thing. You don't know what her face looks like. She's covering her face for a reason. So probably because her artist can't draw an attractive face. So hood it is. It's the medieval equivalent of the paper bag. Anyway. Son of a baby, am I late? No, well, kind of Neozoid, but I think we're going to do a longer stream today because I am feeling good, and also this work is very exciting, so I want to get as much done as possible. And we'll basically go until I get so hungry that I get distracted. And you know it is a McDonald's day too. Everyone knows that. The hood stays on, yeah. Oh gosh, no, it's true. I mean, the reason why she has a hood is because I can't draw a face. I was trying to draw a face and it was just like looking terrible. And so I was like, well, I'll just give her a hood. And then that's probably what I'm going to do for every character. So I'm going to spin my inability to draw faces as like a stylistic choice and say, well, all the playable characters are going to have a similar hood, and that's just going to be like their uniform. That's just like their faction and how they dress, right? So boom, don't have to draw faces, and it's going to be thematically consistent. It's the best of both worlds, right? It's the best of both worlds. Anyway, so yeah. So the next step, let's set up that playable character resource. So how do I want to do this? How did I set up my card definition resource? Let's take a look at that. So this is in game.data. Do I have the artifact resource in here too? Nope. Okay, let's just do a new folder in here. We'll do character, and then we'll set up a new file in here, and we'll do a character definition resource. And we'll do namespace game.data.character public partial class character definition resource. This extends resource. This is going to need to be a global class. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of this stuff. So what I like to do is I like to have an initialize method that can set up a bunch of different IDs in different ways. So let's grab all this. I don't need these relative occupied cells, obviously, so we'll get rid of that. So we're going to want an ID and a Pascal ID. We might not need the Pascal ID. I guess I'll just get rid of that until I need it. So really, I just copy and pasted all this just to have this. But anyway, so I like to have an initialize method where I can set up an ID on this, and then I also need a duplicate. So public void duplicate. Actually, this is going to be public character definition resource. I'm not sure if I need this duplicate either, but let's do var dup is equal to base.duplicate as character definition resource. And then we'll set dup.id equals ID and return dup. Okay. So what are we going to need? We're going to need export. Let's do public string display name get private set. Export public packed scene. And then let's just fill out some of this other stuff. So we'll do private, no, not private, public int base health. I'm just going to do health. It doesn't need to be base. I think 50 is the default, so we'll set 50. Export, we're going to do public string starting card IDs get private set, and we'll just set this equal to empty by default. Export public string starting artifact IDs get private set. And we're probably going to need to store some board configuration data in here as well, but let's not do that just yet because I don't have that system in place. Is that everything that I need? Maybe we'll just do like a export public string we'll just do flavor text so we can provide a little bit of like maybe lore background on each of the characters. So I'm kind of breaking the you aren't going to need it rule here, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to need all of these things. So we'll just set that up. And what else? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Now I could do a little helper method here. I could do public node to character scene like so. And then I can say return scene.instantiate. That'll just make it a little bit nicer, a little bit more readable, I suppose. Actually, I could just make this private. Let's do that instead, because I don't think I'm going to want to directly read that, because I may want to like configure some things when the scene gets created. So we'll make that private so I don't directly read and instantiate that scene. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's set up a character registry as well. And my sort of registry pattern that I've been using is just a way of loading up all the resources of a specific type. And what that does, so like in the artifact registry here, what it does is it loads all of the resources, the artifact resources in the path, and then it calls initialize on them, and then it establishes this relationship dictionary ID to the resource. And then I have a static method in here where I call from ID. I pass in the artifact ID that I want, and I just return a duplicate of that resource. So I'm not modifying the resource that's stored in the registry. So I'm basically just going to copy this here and put this over in the character registry. Character registry and res resources data character definition resource, character registry, register characters, character. Okay, we're done. All right, so there's my character registry. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to need to sort the characters based on like when they get unlocked in the game, or I'm going to need to sort them some way, probably not alphabetically, but we can add the sorting in later. It doesn't matter. Right now, anyway. Okay, let's build, and then we can start setting up these resources here. Okay. Resources, data, create new folder. Character. Here's a character, create new resource, character definition resource. Why is it not showing up? Does it need to be a tool as well? I didn't think it needed to be. Let's see, character definition resource. Well, let's just throw tool on here and see what happens. Could do another thing to hide faces, masks, helmets, scarves, classes. Yeah, that's true. And maybe I will do that, but yeah, we'll see. What am I doing wrong here? Why is that not showing up? Maybe if I restart the editor. Let's try it again. Create new resource, character. Yeah, okay, I needed to restart the editor. That's kind of lame. Oh well, it's fine. So let's do Necromancer. Save. Necromancer, starting card IDs. Skeleton Warrior. Skeleton Warrior. Starting artifact IDs, Skull Wand, and then Scene, Character Necromancer. Okay, we'll leave the flavor text empty for now, but we'll just go with that. Alrighty, so let's go back to the character select now, and this is where we're going to want to set up the characters as clickable elements in here. So what I'll do is I'll create a new scene and I'll just make this extend clickable control. And we'll just do 2829 by default for the minimum size. Okay, let's go to scenes, UI. Character select, let's just call this selectable character. Save, rename this to selectable character. Okay, and then we're gonna need a canvas group here, and then we'll place the character underneath that. Now, I'm gonna need to position this very carefully. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. We'll figure that out later. Okay, let's do an export here. Oh, I should probably add... Ah, son of a biscuit. I'm going to need to extend this. Scripts, UI, character select, selectable character, create. This extends clickable control. We'll get rid of... let's do base.notification, can't forget that. Game.UI.character select. Notification scene instantiated. Why is that not working? There we go. So this always bites me, so I'm going to do this before I forget. Need to call the base method if I'm extending a custom script. Okay. Public void set character definition resource, character definition resource. Okay. And we need to grab a reference to the canvas group. Canvas group dot add child character definition resource dot to character scene. Cool. Okay, and then in my character select, we're going to do private packed scene selectable character scene. Okay, so on ready, private void setup characters. Let's get rid of this ready method. For each var character in character registry.all IDs, character definition resource, character registry from ID, selectable character, instantiate, selectable character, set character, clicked on character selected. We're going to pass that resource in there. So this is going to be character definition resource here. Add child, so this needs to go to the HBox instead. So HBox container, we'll just call this character container, and I'll rename that here before I forget. Okay, character container, add child. So on character selected, we're going to need to want to do a fade out. We're going to need to want to do a fade out here, but let's go back to my main here, this run configuration. So instead of passing in this packed scene, we're going to do the character definition resource. Character definition resource. That's going to break some things, but that's okay. Character definition resource is equal to character definition character registry dot from ID. I'm going to extend ID generator tool to work with character IDs. So I updated my ID constants generator here. This reads the relevant registries and it actually outputs a C# script with all of the IDs as constants. So if I look at my artifact IDs, for example, this is a generated file now whenever I run that tool. So I can just run that tool on demand, and that will update all of the IDs for each of the registries in the game. And I also have it for card ID as well. So for debug purposes, if I ever just want to reference something in the code, I can avoid the magic strings. But I don't have that yet for the character, so that's going to have to be added. Okay. Well, let's figure out where it broke. Probably in the map container. On character selected, this.getMain. Change to run. Let's do main.default run config with character definition resource. I love C# records. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Alrighty, let's build, and we can get rid of this necromancer scene now. Let's build and see. I think it breaks somewhere in the map container, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So initialize add child config dot character definition resource to character scene. There we go. Alrighty. So in main menu now, instead of loading the main scene, what, load character select scene. Oh, no, that works. Load run scene. So I'm going to need to do this to change this to use the run config to use tutorial flag. This should just be called load tutorial scene. Or let's call this load tutorial run. Actually, maybe we could just do that now. Is tutorial... Well, actually, we don't need to do any of this. Okay. Public bool is tutorial get... Let's do get init. Get init and get init. We're going to get rid of this now. Okay, let's see if that works. Wow, 106 viewers. Dang. Is tutorial enabled? Ah, son of a biscuit. No, that's fine. Run config.is tutorial. All right, let's see what I broke. Let's see what I broke. Continue. Let me just make sure the tutorial still works. Good. Quit to menu. Okay, start. And it loaded. Oh, I probably didn't put the code in place. Yeah. We're going to call setup characters here. Okay. Try it again. I was using signals and the question came up of how and when we should disconnect a signal without using exit tree. Signals are automatically disconnected when the... How do I want to phrase this? So you have a node that is connecting to the signals emitted by another node, right? So you have node A, which is connecting to signals emitted by node B, right? When node A gets freed, the signals will be automatically disconnected. And that same thing is true when node B is freed. Now there's a little caveat here, which is that if you're using the event style signal connection in C#, there is a scenario where So if you connect with the event style signal connection in node A, two signals emitted by node B, if node A gets freed, node B will not automatically disconnect the signals that were registered as signal handlers from node A. So you'll end up getting errors like an object disposed error. That issue can be entirely sidestepped in C# if you use the classical signal connection method. So in this case, it would be like, I don't know, if you did this dot connect and then you do like node.signalName.tree entered. I'm just using this example, callable.from on tree entered. If you connect signals in C# using this method of doing so, then you avoid that problem. The signals are automatically disconnected when either one gets freed. It's only when you're using the event style signal connection that it's a problem. So you have to be careful with that. If you're trying to connect like from node A, two signals emitted by node B, but node B is going to be the longer lived node, meaning that node A is going to be freed or has the potential to be freed before node B, you'll end up with like object disposed errors. So you only really want to use the event style signal connection when you're connecting to things that will all be freed as part of a unit, right? So I'm using the event style signal connection here, this dot clicked. And the reason is because this selectable character belongs to this character select scene. And this character select scene is going to be freed entirely as a unit, right? So that means that there's no situation where this selectable character scene will be freed before something else in this scene, if that makes sense. But if you're using just like GDScript, you don't have to worry about managing the signal disconnections yourself. The only time where you'd want to disconnect signals yourself is if you explicitly need to do that. Like you have the node is going to stay in the tree, but you want to stop listening to signals. So node A will stay in the tree, but for whatever reason, you want to stop listening to signals from node B. That's when you'd want to do the manual disconnection. And there are other options available too as well. Like a lot of people don't realize that there's signal connection flags. So for instance, you can set the flag called one shot, which basically means that the very first time you receive that signal from node B to node A, it will be handled only once and then it will be disconnected. And there's all kinds of flags. There's like a deferred flag as well. So yeah, definitely check that out. But yeah, generally speaking, you don't really need to pay attention to disconnecting it yourself. What can I say? We like curvy pixelated chicks with no face. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Going to level up from a niche E-celeb to a niche E-celeb tier 2 with those stream numbers? Yeah, seriously. Are the C# signal events automatically unsubbed? I think I answered this, yeah. So it depends. The answer is it depends. It depends on how you've, like what the life cycle is of your nodes. Okay, let's see what happens. So if I'm ever in a situation where I don't know, why is this not working? Oh, debugger. Oh, I didn't set up the selectable character scene. If I'm ever in a situation where I don't know if like my node A is going to be freed before my node B, I just use the dot connect way of connecting the signals, and then I don't need to worry about it. Character select, selectable character. There we go. All right, let's see what happens. This is not going to be displayed correctly, but all right. And it's not working. Oh, I forgot to set this up. Outline target canvas group. Didn't you just override draw not ready? Oh, I did. How did that happen? Thank you. Okay. So this clickable area is not set up correctly, but there we go. So now that the player is... Oh, and I clicked it and it went into the run. Cool. So now that the player is just like a purely visual thing, that makes including it in like this character select very easy. Now the tricky part is I don't know how I'm going to position these things. So the character is being spawned here, but it needs to be like here. Also, this size is wrong. So what I could do potentially, yeah, see, the problem is I can't just put like the canvas group down in the middle here and then have the player position be 0, 0 because the bounding box is not going to be correct. Because this actually needs to be offset a little bit to fit in the bounding box. So, and I also need to set an individual bounding box for each different kind of character. I mean, I could probably calculate the bounding box myself. Do I want to calculate the bounding box myself? Maybe? Let's see if I can do this relatively easily. For each var sprite in character scene dot get all descendants. How does this work again? Let's just do get all descendants dot of type sprite 2D. Var bounding box is equal to character scene dot, or no. What does get combined rect? That's nothing. Okay. New rect 2. Bounding box dot expand sprite dot get width. Actually, var sprite bounding box is equal to new rect 2 sprite dot global position, I guess. Is that gonna work? Sprite dot texture dot get size times sprite dot scale. I don't care about that. Bounding box dot expand sprite bounding box. Expand to grow. Merge. That's what I want. Bounding box dot merge. So then I want to do custom minimum size here is equal to bounding box dot size. And let me think about this math here. Custom minimum size. Let's also do this. I'm going to change this custom minimum size. Let's just do 0, 0. And then we'll turn off editor only here. I guess let me see if that much works first before I try the positioning stuff. So we're basically just getting all of the sprite 2Ds that are in the scene and we're just creating a bounding box from them. It didn't work. Oh, does this, oh, that returns a new rect too. Bounding box equals. While prototyping, I know I should iterate on variations for game mechanics, but how do you decide whether a variation is canceled versus kept as, say, another character with different playstyle? Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask for... Oh, that's not working. I'm not the best person to ask for like game design advice. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't really know how you would evaluate that. I'm trying to think of like what is a good answer for this question that I can offer. But, you know, I've said this before, like I'm still learning game design as well. Like I think Alchemortis is the best game that I've ever done because the design is very strong, but it's still like it's not easy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question. I'm sorry. I think it just kind of is up to your judgment. I mean, what serves your game and what doesn't, and what problems are presented. You know, and ideally, like the prototype iteration is like you keep leaning more and more into your game design and what you want the player experience to be, while also cutting away all of the things that detract from that. So maybe that's the approach. I mean, that's the approach that I'm taking with Alchemortis, right? It's like I want the player to build their own synergies with the alchemy system, and every prototype, every playtest is working toward making that more of a focus and making that more intuitive and more fun to use, while cutting away all the stuff that's detracting from that. So every time somebody says, hey, I felt like I should avoid alchemy because it was just too negative, that is a blaring red flag that there's something about my game design that is not serving the ultimate goal, and that I need to strip stuff away or change stuff, right? So that's the way that I approach. Like, ask yourself, what is the experience you want the player to have? And when you're prototyping, iterate in a way that pushes players into that experience more and removes all the stuff that's driving the player away from that experience. That's all I could tell you really, is like, that's how I approach Alchemortis prototyping and iteration. And it seems to be working pretty well, but I'm not an authority on game design. So I'm just a stranger on the internet. The only thing that I'm an actual authority on is like how to use the Godot engine. I have no problem saying that I can teach people how to use the Godot engine. I can answer your Godot engine questions, no problem. But when it comes to actual like game design and art and all this stuff, this is stuff that I'm still learning how to do myself. So I wouldn't take my advice super seriously on those things. For the character selector, a Diablo 1-2 character select would be dope, especially with the shader that handles lighting. The Necromancer steps forward and is lit up by a campfire cauldron. Yes, I definitely want to do that. So, you know, we've got this very nice main scene here, and I was even thinking, oh, it'd be cool if the characters were just like here on the scene, but the problem is that this scene is like a zoomed in like ground level view. So what this scene is supposed to be is like you're actually standing on the map, right? Like this is what your path forward looks like, and this is very high detail. So I would need to redraw the characters to be higher detailed to get them to fit onto this scene. So I think what I'll do instead is I'll do something akin to like the normal map looks like. Maybe I'll put some of the map decorations around here or something and put like a bonfire in the middle and have all the characters standing around. And then maybe I'll put like the start node up here with a path going off screen, and then when I select a character, they just kind of like move this way, and then it fades out, and then you go into your run. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, definitely going to give this screen a bunch of art treatment for sure. I might even put the fog of war around the screen just to make it look like you're in the map and you're kind of like starting at your base camp and then you go forward. So yeah, but definitely want to do something interesting with this screen for sure. Are you using sprite sheet for my game? Sometimes. Like the artifacts are all on a sprite sheet, but for the animations, this is actually just the players just cut up in a bunch of different places. So I've got like different body parts cut up, and then I just animate that in engine with the animation player. See? So we got the idle. So it depends on what I'm doing, but I don't really make heavy use of sprite sheets. Appreciate your thoughts on that. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I got one for that I meant to send in Discord. When getting ready for the last boss, alchemy gets scary again because I never get the card levels as an option on a good result. Oh, okay, yeah. Let me write that down as well. I'm just logging all of your feedback in, because, you know, Discord is hard to search too. So as you put feedback in the chat and in the Discord, I'm just copying that over into a doc that I have. Think of game design as a hypothesis. You have a question, you provide an answer, and then test to verify if the answer is correct or needs to be changed. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. And that's where play tests can become really helpful, because especially in Alchemortis, like, I'm so used to playing the game a certain way, and then, but other players are going to have a different experience. And sometimes having a different experience is good, but if they have a different experience in a way that is moving away from the intended experience, then that's bad. And that is a, you know, something that needs to be corrected for. So I have to pick either a better result or higher star count. So it's almost not worth alchemy unless it's weighted heavily. So here's the changes that I want to make for alchemy. I think I'm going to make alchemy even less random. I think what I'm going to do is alchemy is going to be changed in a way where you can take abilities from all the input cards and like merge them together. But I think what I'll do is I'll keep the base abilities of the card. So like when you put a card in, that card will retain all of those abilities that were put into it. And it will have 1 to 2 additional abilities from one of the other cards, or a mixture of the other cards, as an output. And then I also will probably preserve the tier of the card. I'll also probably preserve like the turn cooldown of the card. Like, because right now the critical chance is randomized, the turn cooldown is randomized, the tier of the card is randomized. And there are rules to this. Like if you put 4 tier 4 cards in the alchemy, all of the cards that are output will be tier 4. So the tier that gets chosen for the card is like a random range between the minimum tier and the maximum tier. But the problem is I'm not surfacing that anywhere. And the other problem is it can feel really bad when you want to get this ability off this card, but then it knocks the tier level down of a powerful card you're trying to put it on. So I think what I might do is I might lean more into the reagent side of things as the way that you can control alchemy more, but I'm also going to make it just more predictable at a base level. And we'll see how that goes. So that's going to result in less randomness in the output. But by adding more reagents where you can like reduce the turn cooldown, or like there could be a reagent that's just like all cards will have the minimum turn cooldown of whatever input cards, right? Something like that. But anyway, any thoughts on that? Because I think, yeah, alchemy is like, I don't want players to be hesitant to use alchemy. And the problem is because it's random, it ends up like there are certain situations where doing alchemy is more risky than not. And I don't think that that's, so going back to that discussion, I don't think that that's serving the game very well. Like I don't want players to feel like alchemy is just going to potentially like ruin their build. And that, I think that's different than what I said earlier in development. I think I initially thought of alchemy as being this risk reward thing, but I think there can still be risk reward elements, especially with the negative alchemy abilities. So there is no risk in terms of like improving the abilities on the card with this new system that I'm thinking about, but there is a risk that you get a negative ability that could cause you to rethink whether you want to use that card, or maybe it causes you to shift your board around a little bit, right? So that's the next like phase of alchemy prototyping that I want to do. And that might feel better. The problem is I don't want it to be so predictable that it's just like boring to use as well. So, but this is what testing is for, right? Hello, Nigramotni. Welcome back. Good to see you. Going from level 4 ability to level 1 ability is rough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true for sure. Do you do any telemetry? I do not. Not yet. Anyway. That would be a good change. Right now, I just focus on dropping the turn cooldown by merging things with the maggot for that sweet 4 turn cooldown. Yeah, and I think if I preserve the turn cooldowns as well, I think that that is going to reduce the burstiness of a combat a little bit, because then when you have a large card that has a lot of abilities, it will retain its relatively slow turn cooldown. Rather than, yeah, you just like put a maggot in with like an Iron Maiden, and the Iron Maiden has 4 turn cooldown now, right? It's like, that gets a little bit hard to balance as well. So we're going to try it. Also notice the tier of the cards get cuts fast because everything you earn from combat is always tier 1. Oh, that is probably an oversight on my part, actually. I didn't even think about that. I wouldn't say it's probably an oversight. It is an oversight. So I'm actually going to log that as a bug. Cards cards rewarded from combat do not scale in tier. Yeah, I added that system and I completely forgot to make that scale with the tier of combat. So that's a fix that I need to do for sure. I love that the reagents help you stick to the playstyle you're going for that run. Sometimes it feels like the alchemy stick stacking negatives since you added negative abilities on top of randomly not getting a good ability at all. So I think your new idea is better. Okay, good. I like that the negative abilities are random. That's where I hold my breath and excitement comes from. Yeah, I think I'll just lean into the negative ability side of it more. And I think that's typically how roguelites do it, right? Like, the item will be really powerful and you modify it in some way, and then maybe it gains some negative characteristics as well. But the negatives are not just like pure negatives, right? They are either conditional negatives, like they only apply in certain circumstances, or they're negatives that are structured in such a way that you can like use them to your advantage, right? Reagents adding customization, I think, is the way to go. There are times where I avoid using alchemy because I fear losing a good set of abilities, even though they are not at their full potential. Yeah, I think that's a problem right now for sure. So yeah, I definitely want to fix that. So yeah, it just goes back to that conversation. Like, I want players to engage with alchemy like as the primary mechanism of this game. And if there's anything in the game that is causing players to not want to do that, then there's a failure somewhere, right? One game design advice I had heard was to make the impact of all negative outcomes positive outcomes. Greater than positive outcomes provides more agency to the player than if it was equal. Yeah, and I'll have to play with that too. Like, I might even make the negative alchemy abilities more impactful and give the player the tools to be able to like negate those negatives or just outright remove them. Anyway, what were we doing? I forgot where I was. What was I in the middle of doing? Oh, I got to figure out the bounding box for this character select, right? So why is this not working? Bounding box merge. Sprite bounding box. Is this global position being a problem? Maybe the global position is 0 all the time. Zero, -1. Yeah, that's just not correct at all. 0, -1. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, 0, -1 here. Oh, fudge. I need to account for the sprite offsets as well. Is it just as simple as doing sprite.global position minus sprite.offset? Let's see. Nope. If I do minus sprite.offset, that puts it at 0, 0. Yeah, that's not right. I need to account for the sprite offset somehow. Plus sprite.offset? Now I'm just doing random stuff. I had an instance last night where my mosquito card became legendary. Had to abandon my plans and search for Alcahest to get rid of the status so I could upgrade and enchant it. Was that good or bad? Oh, there we go. Is that right? Yeah, that bounding box is correct now. So now I just need to offset the sprite. Oh, this canvas group. This needs to be 0, 0. So we've got the bounding box being generated correctly. Now I just need to put this sprite in the proper position. How do I do that? Canvas group dot position is equal to bounding box negative bounding box dot position. I don't think that's going to work. Oh, it did work. Okay, so that would be necessary because obviously I'm going to have characters a bunch of different sizes, so I need the clickable control to be bounded around the character, and then also have the character like centered properly or framed properly in that bounding box. I think that works. Let's vector 2 to up. It's not exactly in the right spot. Oops. I guess I can just run this character select scene directly. I don't think I need to do anything else. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. I'd say more good than bad, but I was trying for something specifically and it was preventing me from achieving the effect I was looking for. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a certain degree of that is fine, right? Because you don't necessarily in a roguelite want players to get the exact build that they're after every time. Especially in like Alchemortis, I want the strategy to be as emergent as possible. So yeah, if you're going for a particular build, that should definitely be possible. But if you're just not hitting the things that you need to hit, or you're not getting the artifacts that you need, then I want the player to have to feel like they need to slightly rethink their strategy, right? Or pivot a little bit. So I think that's okay. Like that can, like the goal is not to give the player everything that they want, right? The goal is to create an engaging experience by giving the players the tool that they need to construct a build, even if it's the build that they didn't really set out to achieve, right? So I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I mean, obviously we'll keep an eye on it, but we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Okay. So the next step then is to get the priestess configured and animated and stuff, and then we can see if this whole system works. But make character select screen functional. Let's do add character definition and make character select screen functional. Okay. So I forgot I actually have a meeting to attend in about 15 minutes. So I wanted to go longer, but here's what I'll do. I'm going to attend that meeting. I'm going to get lunch, and then I will start up a stream immediately after those things are done. And during that stream, we will work on getting the priestess actually into the game as a selectable character. We'll also animate her and all that good stuff. So I'll be back at it in probably, an hour and a half or 2 hours. So I hope that you can join me then. I'll put a message in the Discord for that, of course, whenever the new stream goes live. But that'll be it for the stream for now. Like I said, I'll be back later. But yeah, please consider wishlisting Alchemortis if you like what you see. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler. And also the playtest for the latest build of the game is available right now for Patreon members. So if you go to the Patreon and you subscribe at one of these tiers here, you will get a Steam key sent to you for the playtest immediately upon subscribing to one of these tiers. The top tier is a pre-purchase Alchemortis, so when the game launches on Steam, I will send you a Steam key, so you will not need to buy it on Steam again if you subscribe to this sponsor tier for at least 1 month. And if you're a subscriber of the sponsor tier for at least 1 month, your name will be listed in the Alchemortis credits as a way of, saying thank you for supporting the game early before it even came out. Again, the playtest is not only for Patreon members. Patreon members get 1 week of early access to the playtest. And then starting on Friday of this week, the playtest will be public for anyone that wants to try it. And that will be accessible directly from the Steam page. And that public playtest period will last for a week as well. So there's no FOMO here. You will have an opportunity to try all of the playtests that I'll be running during development. It's just Patreon members get a little bit of a perk where they get to try it early. So anyway, that's it for the stream for now. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciate it. Wasn't saying it was a bad thing, more of a, hey, this was an interesting experience. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I got what you're saying, Ninja Link. But yeah, thanks for the stream. See you later. All right, enter booty shaking. Yeah, enjoy your meeting. Thank you. All right, well, take care, everyone. I'll be back in a couple hours at the latest, and we will continue on with this work. So, all right, take care, and bye-bye for now.